What's good, YouTube? It's your boy X back today with another video. In today's video, I will be showing you how to discharge any debt. So any debt literally means any debt. So car loans, mortgages, credit card debt, student loans, pretty much anything, even child support. What we normally do is we go to the car dealership and we see a very nice car that we want. Let's use a S-Class Mercedes, for example. Let's say we want this car, then we drive it, test drive it. We go back to the dealership, we sit down. Then on the screen, it comes to the part where we have to put in our credit, right? So what we think happens is we ask them for a loan, then they run our credit through motherfucking muddy water. Then it comes back approved by Santander, right? But Santander says we have to make a down payment. They'll give us $100,000, but we gotta give them $1,000 first. How does that make sense? Why are we giving you money in exchange for you giving me money? It doesn't make sense. Then after 45 days, we have to start making payments. 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 2,000, whatever your contract says, right? That is wrong. That is not what's happening at all. What is really happening is we go to the car dealership, we see that car, and we sign some documents to give away our rights to the bank. The bank creates a promissory note in our name, and then we have to wait 2 hours in the lobby. You know what we waiting those 2 hours for? Or that hour? We are waiting for the bank to give us a check in our name. And then they tell us that they paid for it, but the check came from our name. Then what happens is they trade that. They trade the loan. The loan is securitized by either your property or your security by itself, Social Security. They trade that bond to investors, and those investors get paid every single month. The bank gets paid from everything. But what they don't do is pay you. That agreement also states that they're supposed to pay you off. If they trade your bond and they get paid $100 million for your $100,000 loan, they're supposed to pay $100,000 off. But they don't do that. You have to acknowledge that and tell them that you know what's going on. Now, what you're supposed to do is send in a 1099-A or 1099-C form to the bank's indenture trustee. In every agreement, there is an indenture trustee agreement that the banks have to sign. There are only a few people who are actually responsible for doing this, and those people are in the indenture trustee agreement. They have to sign that with the SEC. You can also send them a remittance coupon, or you can send them a billing error notice. On Discover or any credit card, there is a section that has something that says a billing error notice. If you have a billing error, send your complaint to this address. Go read your statements. Before you understand the present, you must understand the past. What happened in the past is that we traded what we had for what we wanted. Let's say I had a table and I needed 10,000 eggs. I would trade you a table for 10,000 eggs. But what if you didn't want my table, but you still had 10,000 eggs? There was no middle ground. So that's what gold and silver came in. Everybody deemed gold and silver to be valuable. So we used that as a middle ground to trade. Then the banks came in and created an IOU and said that if you give me 100 gold, I will give you this note that is worth 100 gold. Anytime that you need 100 gold, you can come back here and get 100 gold. But then they start realizing that they can just print more money. So people will come in and give them their gold, and they'll give them a Federal Reserve note saying that I owe you 100 gold pieces for this gold. They cannot give enough gold back because they don't have enough gold to give you. They have Federal Reserve. They printed more paper than they had the worth of gold. But for some reason, we all believe that Federal Reserve notes are equivalent in exchange to gold. But really, it's just a colorable, negotiable instrument, bro. It's not real. Now, this is a very important act that happened. The Emergency Banking Act of 1933. What this did was expanded the presidential authority during the banking crisis. Now, what does this have to do with the banking crisis? That's pretty much what's going on right now. If you don't believe me, Go do your research. This is an Emergency Banking Act of 1933. Go do some research on it. Title IV gave the Federal Reserve the flexibility to issue emergency currency, which is called the Federal Reserve Note. Right now, we have Federal Reserve Notes. This is only issued during emergencies. That's what we're going through right now, an emergency. In the last 20 years, we had like 3 to 5 different things. COVID. We had 9/11 happen. Then we had the mortgage crisis in 2008. That's less than 20 years. Something is always happening for a reason, because we have to be in a state of emergency for the government to continue to have authority and the Federal Reserve to continue to have authority over what's going on. But if you really learn this shit, you can get rich too. It's not really about being wealthy. It's about having knowledge and being secured. That's what all this shit is. It's security. They trying to secure their future. We should too. The Emergency Banking Act also made all the people give away their gold in exchange for Federal Reserve notes. $20 per ounce. If you ain't do it, you will find up to $10,000 or 10 years in prison. Of course, this caused controversy and people did not want to do it. Only like 20% of people really gave it up. But if you got caught, you could get fined. One person did get caught. His name was Frederick Barber Campbell, and he was convicted, sentenced to 2 years in prison. But that's still crazy. How you gonna take something that I have and then fine me for it because I didn't want to give it to you? It's mine. They repealed that act, obviously, because it's crazy. Why would you? How could you just allow that to happen? But essentially what the banks do is they take your money, bro. They take your money, they trade it, they get paid 10 times, 20, 30, 40, 50 times. Then they get paid by their investors, and they don't give you shit. It's kind of fucked up if you really think about it. Now, banks are all securitized. Everything that happens is securitized by the Federal Reserve notes and real estate. All real estate, people, property, all that is securitized. Now, what is a security? Security is a tradable financial instrument or an investment contract. See the word contract in there? That's what your loan is. Your mortgage loan is a contract. It's really a personal loan, but they tell you got to go buy a house with it so they can trade it and get hella bread off of it. Now, once the securities happen, of course, they had to create an act so that people were protected. People are the most important chess piece on the board. So they created the Securities Act and Securities Exchange Act of 1934. This made that all public companies, they have to file a SEC statement, the 8K form, the 10K form. This is where you can find the indentured trustee. You can find who to send your securities to. Your securities are your bills. Those are investments. You invest your security, your Social Security, you invest money into them. Essential money, which is credit. In exchange for the credit, they trade your bond. They get paid for it too. Now they have to file these statements every so often, and you can go find everything about it. And inside the Securities Exchange Act, like I said earlier, each company has an indentured trustee agreement. This is through the Securities Exchange. They make you do this. The real way that any company becomes wealthy is by having investors. Somebody will deem their company worth $1 million, and then investors will invest into that company for security that they get paid every month. And this is interest. This is what people are talking about in dividend stocks. They invest into a company, and the company pays them every so often. Now, if you invest into Verizon, you get paid every month. But you are looking at your bill as an expense when it should really be written off on your taxes as income, because that is interest being paid to you. Now, if you want to know who the investors are, it's you. You are one of the biggest investors into these companies. When you invest into the bank is using your Social Security and trading it and getting paid. They trade your bond, get paid. Then you pay them every month, which you're really not supposed to, and they get paid twice. The only way you can stop this is by acknowledging it and letting them know. The banks will fold every time. They know what they're doing. What you're supposed to do is get all your documents, and you're supposed to get the bank to wire your securities through your TDA account. Do not do this if you don't know what you're doing. The 3 ways to discharge your debt is to get your current bill and send them a notice along with a 1099 if it's under 3 years, or a 1099-C if it's older than 3 years, or it has been discharged. If it's in collections, that means it has been discharged, but they have not updated your status on your credit report, and they have not given you none of your security interests. So you have to let them know. file this and send me copy B. And what they do is they send that to the IRS and send you your copy B, and now you have proof that they did it. They do it anyways. Every company is required to file 1099 forms every year, but you gotta make sure that you file it on your side too, because that is income. Another way to do it is by filing a billing error notice. Look on your credit card statement. It shows you exactly what to do. Billing error notice. Or you can send them a remittance coupon. This is attached to your bill. The top of your bill is a bond. Send them the top half, you stamp it, and you send it off.